Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
OSRS Rambles and all other podcast content is brought to you by our amazing Patreon supporters. Go to patreon.com/thewildernesspodcast or buymeacoffee.com/dills to support the show and gain early access to future OSRS Ramble episodes and other bonus content. This is a series I started where I sit down and talk with different RuneScape players. Because there is one thing that has always stood out to me about RuneScape in general, and it's how talented and creative many of the players are. We have seen people create sculptures, novels, unique ways to play the game, pop-up books, music, and of course, what I believe started it all, the famous RuneScape music videos. And this leads me to my guest today, Yitzer Flogan. Last March, when much of the world was hit with a quarantine, there suddenly was not a whole lot for many of us to do. This became a constant battle to keep the mind busy and to have projects to keep us motivated. And for Yitzer Flogan, the end result was an 8-track musical called A Tale of Gielinor. This story follows an adventurer's journey from Tutorial Island all the way to defeating Elvarg. You can find the album on Spotify, and as of right now, there are 2 videos released on YouTube, Cook's Assistant and A Knight's Sword. So please welcome Yitzer Flogan onto the show. Gus, or Yitzer Flogan, thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on the program. That seems so formal when you say it like that, but I'm excited to be talking with you today.
Same man. Likewise, we can dial back the formality, just kick it, chillin'. It's totally I think we're still in our work minds. We both just got off work and we're just we gotta chill out, talk about some RuneScape, talk about some whatever,
Yes, totally. Cause we were talking earlier, but I work with a lot of business professionals, and my boss has been harping on me for the longest time when it comes to email etiquette. And it's there's all of these little rules that go into how you're supposed to eat. I don't even know if these are rules or if my boss they've created these rules, but I would message someone and be like, hey, Gus, how's it going? And they'd be like, never address someone by hey, always by hi blank. And I was like, oh, but don't even get me started. I'll send out these messages with hi, so-and-so, hi, madam, hi, sir. And they respond with emojis and 3 exclamation marks after a sentence. So it throws me off. I don't know where I'm supposed to stand, but I don't know why I brought that up, but
when you speak, I don't know. Everyone's always concerned about their image and everything. And then, when you reached out to me, as long as you have fine, acceptable, pleasant grammar and tone, you're like, hey, would you like to come on the podcast? I'm like, oh, he used hey. That's a cordial greeting. I can treat this person as a friend. He didn't use good day, sir or madam.
True, yeah.
Would you do me the honor of appearing on my podcast? I'm like, that's a little weird. I'm not going to go on that.
Yeah, this is going to be too of a tense podcast. You have to dress up in a suit and tie and interview before it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Always fun. I want to go back a bit because I've called you Gus, but your in-game name and your content creator name is Yitzer Flogan. Am I pronouncing that properly?
Yes, you are. Yeah, perfect.
Where does that name come from?
Well, I think it was fitting that you said we have to go back. So it actually comes full circle. Back to RuneScape. It's it started when I was in 6th grade. I was reading a lot of kind of Percy Jackson-esque books, if you're familiar with that. A lot of Greek mythology, a lot of fantasy novels. And I said, you know what? I want to try my hand at writing one, but I didn't have any, I wasn't creative enough at the time to come up with my own inspiration. So I set it all in the world of RuneScape, and the main character's name. Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah, the main character's name was Yitzer Flogan. So now that was sixth grade, so 12, 13 years ago. And it's just it's so unique, and it's just kind of been hovering in the back of my mind. I'm like, if I ever do anything with RuneScape again, I have to pay homage to what started it all, as far as content creation and RuneScape. So that's kind of where it comes from. I don't know what it means. It's I'm not, I have no idea what 6-year-old Gus was smoking, but I'm glad that it's a keyword, in Google. Nothing else comes up when you search Yitzer Flogan.
Yeah, that's, and even, so I was on Spotify, and when I go to type in your name, so we're going to get into a second, but you created a musical for Old School RuneScape.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so when I type in the name, even if I misspell it, it normally brings me to your page. That works out in that sense.
All right. Sweet.
That's great to hear, I bet. But so you created a fantasy story when you were very young. Do you have that story sitting somewhere, or is it gone?
My guess is that my mom probably has it. I certainly do not, but she might have the last remaining copy. I was writing it on this really old, what year was it? 2008. This was in the age of when families had a computer room. You know what I'm talking about? Where it was there was one desktop, no one had phones. So this was all written on the family desktop. I think I printed it out because I would read it to I would read this fantasy story both to my friends and family, and then my teachers got word of it, and when they ran out of lesson plans too early, they would be like, Gus, do you want to read the next chapter in your story? So from this early age, I'm performing RuneScape content, whether it happens or not.
Do you think you wrote a pretty good story for how old you were?
I think it's a couple of things. I think maybe there was some time to kill. I think this gets really hard to say because, some people like rap, some people like pop, some people like rock. So, sure. And I was in sixth grade.
Yeah.
I think you can't really ascribe a quality to art or a story, especially at that age. What I was really happy with looking back is that the teachers would, actively encourage creativity. They would actively encourage kind of standing out and being yourself in front of a bunch of people. And I think that really, that sort of tutelage and mentorship from my, middle school professors really helped me kind of come out of my shell, because I was a really shy kid before that.
Yeah, that sounds like it would help a lot, because eventually, I'm sure there's a lot that came in between, but it led you to today, where you've created a Old School RuneScape musical, A Tale of Gielinor, as it's labeled. You released it last week. You released a whole album with 8 songs on it. And it caught my attention on Reddit when you posted, I believe it was the first video, a cook's assistant.
That's right, cook's assistant.
Yeah, right. And man, I really liked it. That was really cool. And it was super creative. And it's one thing that I always notice with Old School RuneScape. I'm a gamer. I play a bunch of video games. I've played them my whole life. I've played a bunch of other MMOs, and I'm always blown away by the sort of creative people that play Old School RuneScape. There's a lot of really cool stuff, and then you come out with an Old School RuneScape musical, and I was like, that's a brilliant idea. That's amazing. And I never would have even thought that hey, we need a musical, even though RuneScape music videos have always been a thing since 10 years, over 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So what inspired you? What was the reason behind creating a like a musical for Old School RuneScape?
That's a great question, and I'm going to take you back in time again. The real impetus, in some ways, was so. This is 2021. I don't know what's happening up there in Canada, but for a lot of the United States, we're still kind of very quarantine-y, kind of keeping our distance from each other, still in lockdown. Like I'm still working remotely. Like we haven't gone back to the office. And right when quarantine started, I was feeling down in the dumps. Everything sucked. Like nothing was going right. And this professor from Yale University named Laurie Santos, she released a class online for free for anyone who wants to take it. You don't have to be a Yale student. You don't even have to be a college student of any kind. And it was called The Science of Well-Being. It's pretty much just a short course in how to make your everyday life happier. And I'm like, that's what I need right now. I'm gonna go through this and see what I get out of it. And one of the main things that she talked about was look back at your childhood and find out what sorts of stuff you were doing when there were no stakes, in the sense that if you failed, it's okay. If you succeeded, probably nothing happened because you're like 12 and cool, you made a thing. So I thought back, and two things stood out to me. I played a lot of RuneScape in my youth, and I wrote a lot of comedy music. It started out like writing Weird Al parodies about RuneScape, actually. I would post these to the old forums.
Oh,
like
wow.
Legit 2006, 2007 RuneScape forums. And then that comedy music train turned into like making CDs for my friends. I sold them for $5 a piece and made like $1,000. I was like,
wow.
Oh my, that's a lot of money for a 13-year-old.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a 28-year-old. Like I'm sitting here listening. That's amazing.
And I'm just like, and that snowballed into a bunch of other things. And I looked back and I was like, okay, you know what? I remember being 12 years old and coming home from school and being like, I wonder if anyone has created a comedy song about RuneScape today. And I would go on to www.youtube.com. And, there's back in 2006, 2007, there was a few things, but like, I don't think content had progressed to the level where it is now, where you can just literally download a digital audio workstation and connect to the internet and everyone's making content about everything. So I was like, you know what? Now that I have the skills, I have the musical knowledge, I have the technical knowledge, and I have, I've written probably over 100 songs by this point in my life. I'm like, okay, now that I have all that knowledge, I'm going to make this for 12-year-old Gus. So, someone out there, if they're in the same spot, will listen to it and they'll be like, oh, this is incredible. I'm so glad this exists. I don't know why it exists, but I'm glad it does.
You mentioned you started working on this back when quarantine first started, right?
Yeah.
And you said it was a way to keep you busy because you were kind of like in the dumps a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can relate to that a lot because I was thinking back in March as well. That's when that's when the whole quarantine started, and I felt the exact same way, where there was like a week and a half where nothing was going on, and everyone was just telling you, yeah, you're just gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait for all this to blow over. And then after a week, I realized I needed to get out and start doing something, whatever it was. I just needed to do something. It wasn't quite the musical, but it was really important to keep me busy. But it's really cool to see that what started off as kind of something to keep you kind of going, keeping your brain active, has now evolved into these 8 songs that we have now. And I believe 2 videos, right? You released a video the other day of A Knight's Sword.
That's right. So Cook's Assistant came out, like 9 days ago, 8 days ago, something like that. And then I released The Knight's Sword yesterday. Oh my God. I spent like all weekend on that. I probably pulled like 16 hours on that video.
Wow. So how do you feel about it now that it's released? I'll make podcasts and stuff, but I think podcasting is a little bit more different than like creating a video where, as you said, you spend 16 hours on this project. You release it, and then what? Do you sit back? Do you see how it gets received from the community? Do you jump on to the next project immediately?
I think what I like to do is just kind of post it and let it kind of simmer for a while. Let it, leave it alone for 6 hours. Don't reply to any comments. Don't do anything. And just see what happens. I don't know if there's like good times to post on the 2007 Scape Reddit. I just kind of look for patterns and be like, oh, that kind of did well. Because I think, here's the thing about people producing content for Old School RuneScape or any game. Honestly, I think people put a lot of work into most stuff they make. I think a lot of it is good. But unfortunately, either the way that Reddit works or you have to have some sort of marketing prowess. And I don't know if that's like the right term, but it needs to get in front of people.
Right.
And I'm not making any money off of it. Like this was like, I have no monetary investment in the success of the videos or the success of the album whatsoever. I just know that I think I've created something that is worthy of people's interest in it. If they're interested in Old School RuneScape and they're interested in musicals / rock operas. So I kind of let it simmer, see how it does. I think people who like it really like it. People who don't care for it, they leave it alone. And then I interact with people like you who really like it, or meet Dave, or the guy who gave me a platinum award like a couple of hours ago.
What's the platinum award mean? I'm kind of out of the loop with that one.
I have not been using Reddit for very long, but it's some sort of like they paid real money to buy a platinum award to give to someone, and they chose me because of the musical. And I thought that was really cool. That's all I know
amazing.
About it.
Yeah. No, that's good enough. It's somebody decided to say, I appreciate this enough. I'm going to spend my money on this little shiny little icon that will now appear on your post. That's neat. Have you always been, you mentioned like you were making music for a long time, but have musicals specifically been something you've been interested in?
Oh, yes. Very much so. I think, I don't know when it happened, but this is actually back in high school. I went to this like sort of a residential high school where you kind of live on the campus. It was just for juniors and seniors. So 11th grade, 12th grade.
Right.
And the Book of Mormon came out. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Yeah. So the Book of Mormon came out, and a little before, maybe not a little, but there was another big musical that came out around then that I was really into. Avenue Q or something like that. Another big musical came out, and I've been writing comedy music for a long time. And at this residency school, there were a bunch of talented people running around with nothing to do besides schoolwork and, the occasional odd club or whatever. So I got a few of them together and I said, hey, do you guys want to do a musical? Would you trust me to write a musical that we would put on for the whole school and whoever wants to come? And they said, yeah. So I spent a year and a half writing the songs, writing a legit libretto, a script, directing it, staging it, working the lights. Or I didn't work the lights, but, setting up the lights.
Yeah.
And a year and a half later, like 2 months before I graduated high school, we put it on. We thought like half the school would come, which is not bad. That was like 250 people. And we packed the house.
Wow.
We packed the auditorium. So it was like 800 people showed up, the entire school, lots of friends and family. And it was a massive success. It was a Sunday night performance because that was the
Wow.
only time we could get the auditorium. And it was just such a massive hit. It sent actors on their way to pursuing more like acting gigs. It really introduced people who had never done theater before to doing theater, and they continued to do it. It, in some ways, helped jumpstart a student-written theater program at that high school after I graduated. It was like we, the cast, the crew, we proved that the students could do it. And once that was sort of fleshed out, once it was shown to the faculty and the staff, they were like, okay, students can write and direct musicals and plays. Why don't we start like a student theater organization for them to do exactly that? So that's a very long-winded answer, but I've been interested in musicals for some time now, I suppose.
No, that's talk about leaving your mark on a high school, right? That's was it like a drama or like an artsy, like an art specific school?
It was actually a math and science specific school.
Wow.
So I think they just wanted a outlet. And for 30 high school kids to put their faith in another high school kid over the course of 18 months, I'm thinking about it now and I'm just like, how did that happen? That's like an impossible thing. But I'm glad it happened. I think in some ways it led to this in a really roundabout way.
Obviously I wasn't there, but that's incredible. Like, not even just the project itself, but the fact that like you were able to find a group of people to commit to something for over a year when you're in high school. I could barely commit to like a project that took more than a day. So yeah, that's quite incredible. And then of course set you up for a Tale of Gielinor. So let's wrap around to RuneScape specifically, because you mentioned that when your sixth grade self was definitely into RuneScape enough to write a novel about it. But when you got into the game, do you have like any memories of actually being pulled into the game at all? I'm asking because I feel like for me, I have like a specific memory where I met somebody at like a soccer camp that I went to, and they told me about RuneScape. I had never heard of like the house. My parents were divorced, so when I lived with my mom, she didn't have internet and stuff, but my dad did have internet. So I'd hear about this game where it's like an online medieval game, whatever. I'd have to wait till I got to my dad's before I could even try it, and that was like my first experience with playing in an online game, and it blew me away that this was possible. But eventually, I went back the next summer to that soccer camp, met those same kids who got me into RuneScape. And at that point, they had totally switched. They're like, no, RuneScape is for losers. And I was like,
snap.
I know, right? Who plays RuneScape? What a stupid game. But here I am, like, just obsessed with it. Do you have any memories of, like, when you first started the game?
I do. I find it, like, I'm having such a hard time imagining a household without internet.
It's strange. Yeah, I'm trying to think back, too, and I don't know how I have like memories of finding out what email addresses were. I was in grade 5 and everyone was sharing their email addresses because of MSN and all that stuff. And I remember thinking like, what is this thing everyone's talking about? And I had to like wait till I go to my dad's on every other weekend and be like, what is an email address? And let's set me up. Everyone, I feel so left out. I need to get set up with it. But yeah, very strange times back then for sure.
For sure. That's so interesting. That's so interesting to me. I do have like a very concrete memory. So I grew up in a military family. So we moved locations every 2 or 3 years until I was 11 or 12, about that like age where everything else I started doing, like that middle school age. And one of the first people I met when we stopped moving around was this guy named Tyler, and he pretended to stab me with 2 daggers because that's what he thought a 2-handed sword was. He thought it was a sword in each hand.
Nice. True. I can understand that actually.
reading comprehension, man. Fifth graders don't have it. But I was like, what the heck is this? What are you doing? And he's like, it's RuneScape, man. You don't play RuneScape? And I'm like, well, you're like my only friend here because I just moved here. I'll check it out. I'll see what it's all about. And I mean, I hadn't had video games for that long either. I think I got my Nintendo GameCube maybe a year before that. And we had Super Smash Brothers and Wario World, I think.
Oh, interesting. Was that your first experience with gaming then, with the GameCube?
Wario World, yeah, because for some reason I was not into Super Smash Brothers Melee, but then I got really into it later in life.
Right, you got to get the motor skills, the hand-eye coordination before you can start jumping into that one.
That's right. You can't use your chubby little child fingers. You have to use your svelte adult hands.
Oh, that's right.
Let's see. Yeah, so he told me about RuneScape. I remember very brutally, distinctly playing it for an hour at the local library. There was one computer. My mom was friends with the librarians, so she would look at some books and then just chat. And then my little brother would stand next to me, and I was just on it. I was like, this is really cool. But Tutorial Island took me like 55 minutes to complete because I did not know what a range was. Like the cooking range.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. That's understandable.
It would be like, use the bread dough on the range. And I was like, what does that mean? What's a range? And I'm trying to like click on the unused bread dough and then click on the ranged skill, like the archery. And it's just like,
that's fair. Yeah, that's confusing.
I had no idea. I was like, this game is too hard. And then I was like, it's just an oven. Oh, it's just a stove. Why didn't they just say stove? But anyway.
The struggle.
Yeah. Struggled through Tutorial Island, but then I was hooked. Saw Tyler the next day and I was like, yo, this game is insane.
You've ruined my life.
You've ruined my life.
So, yeah, when you mentioned that you had just gotten the GameCube, which was your first game experience a little bit before RuneScape, this is going to might be a totally random question, but I just want to take a shot in the dark. Did your parents get you into music before video games?
I actually think it was the other way around.
Gaming first.
Gaming first. But my parents are incredible parents in the sense that they were very, very hands-off. I think they were very good about getting like core values, like discipline, honesty, being polite and cordial, speaking up when you don't agree with something, stuff like that. But they were never like, you're going to play football and, you're going to do ballet. Never like that. It was very much like, pursue your own interests. As long as you're doing something and you enjoy doing it, then we're happy.
Nice. Okay. So at some point, music was introduced to you. The reason I was asking is because I have a few friends who they were musicians, and they still are, but they play like a wide range of musical instruments. And, going off the musical you had put together, I'd assume you can play a ton of different instruments, right? Am I wrong with that?
Yeah. I can only play one instrument passably. I can play the piano passably, and then all of the like bass and drums and guitar you hear in there, that's all fake. That's all programmed.
Okay, well, still, there's a bit of there's something into when it comes to like the electronic side of many instruments. I remember being younger and dabbling on Fruity Loops.
Oh yeah.
Just getting nowhere past a simple bass and snare beat. And yeah, eventually it just kind of fell off. So there's definitely like it does take something. So not to discredit the work that goes involved with electronically. I don't know how you say electronically adding some of these instruments.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of like audio production YouTube tutorials to make them kind of sound real-ish, reverb and stuff like that. It takes a lot of work. I have mad respect for like EDM and house musicians now.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I know there's a lot of, I don't think people do it so much these days, but I know like as I grew up, especially like I grew up listening to like a lot of like heavy metal and stuff. And so you'd meet a lot of people that would kind of poo-poo electronic music, but I also do enjoy, I got into dubstep and all that stuff when that was a thing.
Yeah, nice.
Not really sure where that happened, but there is something that goes into being able to. Honestly, I don't know anything about this field, so I'm just going to be talking. And people who are creating music, like electronic music, they're going to be like smashing their face against their keyboard listening to me try to explain it. It's probably best to circle something that I am much more knowledgeable about, which is RuneScape, of course. So here we are today. It's 2021. We're playing Old School RuneScape, the 2000 version of a game that got re-released in 2013. Whereabouts, like, tell me about your play style. Tell me about your account. Like, whereabouts are you in the game? Do you play like an Iron Man? Are you into PKing? Are you into PVM? Are you just kind of in the middle, like mid-game level range? How would you describe your account?
I would say I don't think it's very consistent. I've played on and off for the past 13 years. I was very into it from like 6th to 9th grade. No strategy. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, all I want to get done, my obsession during those years was completing lunar diplomacy. I was like,
Nice.
There's a new spell book that's not like violent spells. I'm not into PKing. I have no idea how to do it. I don't know what a tick is. Everyone's talking about ticks and prayer flicking. I don't know what that is. I don't do that.
No need to, I guess, right?
I guess not. I was just like, I just want to do lunar diplomacy. And I remember training for it for months. And I'm like, I look at but I was like 13. I look at the quest requirements now. I'm like, why did that take me months to do?
Yeah.
Like 61 mining? That should have been done in a day, maybe 2, but whatever. And then, so it kind of fell off when high school and college started getting really tough. But then I found when they released Iron Man mode a few years ago, I created a totally new account, just free to play, and I went and did all the quests with my brother, and that would be kind of our in between for like when finals week, when exams week was happening during college. We would do 2 things: we would study for exams, and we would play Old School RuneScape. And that would be kind of like our decompressing, when it's like, if we're not studying, we're scaping. And if we're not scaping, we're studying. And that like Iron Man mode quest approach was really, really soothing, because it was familiar on one hand, but it was also novel enough in the Iron Man capabilities that it was still interesting to play. And then fell off from it once I got into the workforce, and then quarantine happened, and I flitted between it here and there, but didn't really get into it until Trailblazer came along, and I was like, this is the greatest this is the greatest thing I have ever seen. Repaid for membership. I bought my brother membership as a Christmas present, and we just played all the time. We spent almost every free second of those 2 months playing Trailblazer together. That was the only time I got into PVM. Some God Ward stuff just for the knocking out the tasks, stuff like that. I don't know. I play it very chill, very like skilling, very social. I like hosting drop parties, stuff like that. I like trading noobs and giving them 100K for no reason. I'm a very generous player.
It's funny because my account's a pretty high level, so like if I guess if I kind of wanted to, I can kind of experience a lot of different games. I could do some of the end game PVM. I could go PKing on my account if I wanted to. I do, and then I die. So, but I can do it. The point is, I can do it. And then I can experience some of the end game quests. And so there's a lot that I can do on my account, but I always fall back. My favorite experiences in the game are always the social experiences, or like going to the Grand Exchange and just screwing around for an hour, whether it's like dressing up in some weird costume or doing a little bit of a drop party. Although, I was gonna say doing a drop party in the Grand Exchange is super fun. Was very fun. The last time I did it though, there was a bunch of bots that were specifically meant for picking up what people drop.
Lame.
So it was less fun. But yeah, the social aspect of the game is always kind of, I guess it's what keeps me playing. And then I can try to experience other things.
Yeah, I really do think that's it. And I think, the more, I'm really looking forward to Group Iron Man. I'll probably hop back in once Group Iron Man comes out. I'll call my brother and be like, yo, it's out. Finally, let's do it.
It's time.
It's time. I don't know what it is about it. It's just so I think it's a little bit of nostalgia. I think, I'm not like a game theory expert, but it feels good to play. I like clicking on stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And then it's just a good community generally. You get a few bad apples, but by and large, it's a really friendly, welcoming community that I've found, at least.
Totally. If you focus, you can focus on the negatives and you can make it seem like the game is, very, very toxic. And there are some people who are toxic, but for the most part, it's also a very wholesome community where, it's just, there's a lot of, positivity that goes around. And if you're looking for the negative, you'll find it. But for the most part, it's the positive you'll see.
You sound like Laurie Santos in The Science of Well-Being, the person who taught the happiness course.
Maybe we're the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Now, so when I look at A Tale of Gielinor, the musical you'd put together, it's very much telling the story of somebody kind of experiencing the world of Gielinor, but also coming from it's a free-to-play player's journey, it seems like, right?
Oh, yeah.
Your first song is Tutorial Island, and it goes through a bunch of the quests, and then, of course, the last... Is it a spoiler if I say what the last song is?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's Dragon Slayer. It's a solid, 7-minute epic song to end off the album with. And you've released 2 videos so far. Are you working on more videos? And do you have plans for a new project, RuneScape-related project, down the road?
That's a good question. I think as far as videos go, I might make more, but I have to slow down how quickly I put them out. Because
do you find it draining?
I don't think draining's the right word for it. I think I'm just overbooked with responsibilities right now. Because I work full time. I run a small video editing business on the side. And then, you're a content creator. You know how long it takes to make something look, there's small little details that you want to get perfect. And at the very back of your mind, there's a voice saying, hey, no one's going to notice this detail. But then behind that person, further in the back of your mind, you hear, no, you have to fix this or you're never going to be happy with this video.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. So I might make a few more. People are demanding it. And who am I? Who am I to say what the people want or don't want?
You're a man of the people.
I'm a man of the people. But I'll definitely have to slow production on those. As far as a second RuneScape content project, I'm not sure if I'll release another one anytime soon. Someone's dared me to make One Small Favor, but I think that's like a meme. I don't.
Right.
I think I said this album took me 8 months to make. One Small Favor is going to take me 8 years. So we'll see.
What a song that would be.
What a song it would be. It would be something. But I think a lot of people who like the album really, really, really like the album. And I think I would like to kind of explore more of the either production or, I mean, I hit a lot of Easter eggs in the album. I put a lot of work and care into hiding, the Sea Shanty 2 melody is hidden somewhere in the album. There's a lot of references to members' content all throughout the album. There's a lot of like the rap is chock full of weird little references, and then a lot of like themes and motifs borrowed from the original RuneScape soundtrack. So I think I can maybe not jump so quickly into another RuneScape project. I have been thinking a little bit about doing a Stardew Valley kind of musical. I know this isn't a Stardew Valley podcast, but
it's a great game, so we can talk about it. It's a really cool idea. Where do you get these, like, I want to say the motivation, but I already used that earlier. Like when you're like, what is not pushing you but influencing you to create a musical for a different game? Do you have any like aspirations to become like a full-time content creator doing video game musicals?
I think what's pushing me is I had such a blast working on A Tale of Gielinor. But the reason it took 8 months, and I mean, I'm sitting at home all the time. It should not have taken 8 months, but a lot of it was slowed down by learning a digital audio workstation. I had to research and buy a mic. I didn't own like a nice mic for recording the vocals. You have to find all the virtual sound packages. You have to like learn how to produce audio, mixing and mastering. So it was kind of like, had I known all those skills beforehand, I probably could have gotten the RuneScape album done in 3 or 4 months. A lot of that was just like learning and failing and learning again. Stardew Valley has a nice little place in my heart right next to RuneScape. It felt so good to kind of tell this strange narrative and kind of like tongue-in-cheek make references throughout for the RuneScape album. And I think doing something similar with Stardew Valley, because they also have such a wonderful community of people. It goes back to kind of what I said before, where it's people who like it really, really, really like it. People who don't kind of ignore it. And I just want to focus on those people who really, really, really like it. I think it's something like what you said. It's something you didn't know you wanted, but are glad that it exists. And I like being that person.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's where games like Stardew Valley or games like RuneScape, where they have a very dedicated fan base, they're going to very much appreciate something like that. And I guess they're also just they're very like relaxing games. Maybe you might have like similar nostalgic feelings. Is Stardew old enough to start being nostalgic for? Probably.
I think the pixel art really helps drive the nostalgia and makes it seem older than it is.
Yeah, and then even the vibes of it feeling very much like Harvest Moon, which I grew up playing, and it's a very relaxing and peaceful game. And I know, and RuneScape is as well. It has aspects of it that are super relaxing and almost like therapeutic. I might be gaming and my girlfriend might walk by and be like, why does it just look like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm farming. Like, you need to don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm just farming my crops.
Yeah, I'm blissed out. It relaxes you so much. I think that's why I was playing it during finals week. Most people would be like, what? You were playing RuneScape during finals week? And I'm like, you have no idea what this game does to your brain in the best way. If you just take it slow and chill and easy, mine some rocks, baby. It'll put you right to sleep.
And they can be like almost comforting too. Like Stardew, I got like super sick in August. I got like food poisoning, and it was, I was out for like 3 weeks, and like I was bedridden. I couldn't eat any food, but I played so much Stardew Valley because I just needed something to like calm my soul, and I played so much of Stardew Valley. And so the games like that can be like very, very special. And like, it sounds weird, but music does this. I heard this Kevin Smith. I don't know if you're familiar. He's a director.
Oh yeah, I know. Clerks, right?
Yeah, Clerks, all those movies.
Yeah.
Jane, Silent Bob. But he said once on a podcast that like music is like a time machine for him. And you can play certain songs and it will bring you right back to where you might have maybe not even first listened to the song, but it would bring you back to a time where you did listen to a song. Like there's an Elton John song. What is it? Is it Benny and the Jets? Is that what the song's called?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that song there, it reminds me, I don't know why it reminds me of it, because I've definitely had heard it before, but it reminds me of being driven to my babysitters when I was like, must have been in grade 2 or something. And I'm in the back seat of a car. And it's like, I can picture the road. I can picture the scenery around the car. It was like 6 a.m. in the morning because the sun wasn't out. I find it crazy that music can do that. Although I don't know if it's like that for everyone. Does that happen to you at all? Are there songs that you can like, you'll play and you're like, holy shit, I'm at the library playing RuneScape, listening to Linkin Park or something?
To teleport me back to the library, that one is definitely the RuneScape main theme. Obviously,
yeah.
Like I think whenever someone hears that, they remember like exactly where they are the first time they heard it. Something for me, I lived out of Airbnbs when I was working as a videographer in San Diego on a contract gig, and I didn't know anyone out there. And like living out of Airbnbs, you have no stability. Like you can't invite people back to your house because it's not even your house. So it was a very lonely 8 months, and I can teleport myself there whenever I listen to Paul Simon's "Still Crazy After All These Years," either the song or the album.
I'm not familiar with that song, but
yeah, there's a few places. I can go back to Joshua Tree if I listen to "Peaceful Easy Feeling" by the Eagles, I think is who it's by. Just like random stuff that came on the radio. I think most of the time it's like the first time you hear a song in a really novel place, or it's you hear a song a lot in a place that you are in a lot.
Right. Okay. Yeah, totally. Somebody once told me, I don't know how much this would actually work, but if you're ever going on like a trip or you're doing you're at some stage in your life where you're just doing something like a road trip, or maybe you have a long commute to work, make like a playlist or find an album to listen to it a lot during that time. In like 10 years, when you play that album, it'll transport you back to that time.
I've actually had something like that happen where my girlfriend and I, right when we graduated college, we went on a 5-day trip to Iceland.
Oh, cool.
The only album that either of us had downloaded onto our phone, she had Ed Sheeran's Divide album.
Okay.
I think it was. And it's just like, that's the only thing we listened to on repeat everywhere we went, because we couldn't, like, Icelandic talk radio. If you don't speak Icelandic, it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No.
So we listened to a lot of Ed Sheeran's Divide, and every time I hear like Castle on the Hill or Galway, is Galway Girl off that album? Yeah. She's nodding in the background. She's like, yeah, Galway Girl. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's just like right back to the lava fields.
That's amazing. Is Iceland was that a nice trip?
Oh yeah. It was her first time out of the country. I actually, before my dad got stationed in the States, we were actually stationed in NAS Keflavik. So I lived there for about 3 years, from ages 8 to 11 or something like that.
Where is that?
It's in Iceland. It's
okay.
It's the city. If you ever go to Iceland, it's the airport that you fly into.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that's very cool. Well, man, it's been great talking to you. It's getting to that time. But I have 2 questions I wanted to end on. First one,
Sure.
do you have a favorite RuneScape song?
Oh, I know like everyone wants to say like sea shanty too, but I think
sure.
yeah, my favorite has got to be Autumn Voyage. That's
Oh, no
the
way.
uh, I don't play it very much, obviously, but
That's great.
dun, 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 dun. Oh well, you can cut that out if that sounded terrible, which I'm sure it did. or you know, you hear those first couple of chords and you're like, oh, I know that song.
For this series, I think it's Autumn Voyage to lead in and to lead out.
Oh, nice. Oh, we're
So I do my little intro and outro to that. So that's perfect. And is there one song on your album, A Tale of Gielinor, that you are particularly more proud of? If you could showcase one song from that album, which one would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think I like them all for different reasons. I'm going to toot my own horn here a little bit. I like Cook's Assistant because it feels very like, oh, this is fun. This is super fun. RuneScape, yeah. And I've never written a song like The Night Sword before. That kind of talking heads, it's almost speak singing. I've never written a song like that before. Romeo and Juliet is the first duet I've ever written. With my friend Wilson. Funny enough. I've never rapped as hard as I rapped on Wrapping Up the Quest Log. Let me think.
Nice.
I think Tutorial Island honestly would be my showcase song. Just because I think it fits my range really well, but also if you're into music theory composition, it's really bizarrely written, but it doesn't sound like it's weird. Like there's a lot of strange chords, but there's also a lot of like uneven measures in the chorus. And I'm getting really nerdy here, but I always like music theory blows me away. And I'm just to be able to
let's nerd out about that. Let's end we'll end the show. Well, we'll lead up to the end of the show with you nerding out on it, because I would like to I'll play that song. We'll end on that song. What are the aspects that you find super cool, and what someone who's going to listen to it, what should they listen for?
Excellent question. So I'm going to drop some of the Easter eggs that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. I have my piano right here next to me, so I can play a little. I know you're going to play the whole thing, but the whole album starts off with this. That kind of motif.
Mm-hmm.
And that motif shows up in every song where our player kills something, because, you know, the album is about him like sacrificing everything for him to like solidify his legacy in the RuneScape history or whatever. And he just gets slowly more and more off the rails. So having like a motif that ties the whole album together. What else is interesting about this song? Oh, when Vanica kind of gives him that warning of like, I've seen men of stronger resolve and smaller goals have their lives disrupted. That kind of thing, that shows back up in Dragon Slayer. Those same chords are playing when Elvarg the dragon says, I think he quotes directly Tutorial Island. He says, there are forces of evil both outside and in, which is a callback to Tutorial Island.
That's sick. Love that.
There's a lot of other, like, I don't think I did it in this song, but a lot of the other songs are based off of this minor 1 to major 4 move, which kind of sounds like, so that's kind of like, a message from the king, we got a gang war out in the streets, that's not Tutorial Island, but that's Shield of Arav. But that same chord, chord progression is the bum 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 da 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 da. That shows up all over the album. There's all kinds of stuff. There's so many. If you're into like music theory and all that, and then I mean the lyrics of Tutorial Island took so long to write because there's so many like internal rhymes throughout the whole thing. It's like a land for expanding my knowledge and skills. I am learning and burning some. There's so many like it extremely difficult to craft, but it's catchy. People like it. People say it's a bop. So those are some things I really like about the song and the album in general, is kind of its cohesiveness. Oh man, I've rambled on for a long time. I'm looking at like the time ticker now.
No, this is great. I love this. I was like, oh man, I gotta wrap up soon, but I wish. I think I love when someone's passionate about something. I love when they nerd out, even if I have no idea. I have an electric drum kit, so I can smack things on it. But when it comes to like, when you're going into like the actual someone who is passionate about music that you think is really cool, it's so fun to listen to. Like, even though I might not quite understand, but I love the breakdown of it, and I think people will appreciate that too. Especially, we'll play it right afterwards too, so they can kind of listen to it, and maybe someone else who's also a big like music nerd, and I say that in a very endearing way. They'll be able to appreciate that. So yeah, I call myself a podcast nerd all the time. So I think if you could be the nerd for your passion, you're good to go.
Yeah, I think you're right. RuneScape music nerd, music theory nerd, podcast nerd. I love it all.
Yeah, you got to take it and embrace it. But it's been such a pleasure to talk with you today, and it's been great to hear about like your journey, and to I was, like I said, I was blown away when I listened to this album. I saw the music video of the Cook's Assistant video, and I was like, oh, this is cool. You had mentioned that you're releasing a whole album in the comments. Anyways, when it came out, I played it when I was at work, and I listened through the whole thing, and then I had to go back and re-listen to songs because it just like while I was working, it became like the soundtrack of my day, and it didn't. There was, even when I play my songs on Spotify, you'll come to a song where I'm like, I'm going to change to the next song. But I didn't do that for any of your songs. You did a really great job there.
That's super nice. I really appreciate that. I'm smiling so big right now.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, it's a lot of hard work goes into projects like these, and sometimes it's like specific. It's specific to RuneScape, so I think people who don't play RuneScape, they might not be able to appreciate it as much. But you've mentioned you've made a lot of songs in the past. Where can somebody listen to your music? Is that available out there?
Yes. So a lot of the songs that I've written were either on these like comedy albums that I wrote a long time ago that I never put around on Spotify. Other project that I can shout out is a band that I was in called Wind Chop, which is, I guess you could call it like vaudeville punk. I don't know. That's kind of what we call ourselves. I would say vaudeville punk, like the 1920s vaudeville shows.
Interesting. Okay.
It's called Wind Chop. It's a duo. It's me and my friend Wilson, who actually plays Romeo on this album.
Cool.
And it's vaudeville punk. I guess that's if I had to liken it to a song off of the RuneScape album, it's almost, the genre is very much Shield of Arav, that kind of like classic driving rock.
That's amazing. Do you have other social medias and stuff that you want to plug? Do you stream or anything like that?
I don't stream. No. No, I don't. I might though.
Okay,
but we'll see. I would just say plugging Yitzer Flogan. Check me out on YouTube. That's where all the stuff is going.
Amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk with you today. Any final words before we lead into Tutorial Island?
No, I just want to say this has been really, really fun. I love talking to people about RuneScape and music. And again, like I think I said it before, your charisma, like I feel very welcomed here. I want to thank you for inviting me on.
Well, I appreciate that. You put the smile right back on my face. So thank you for coming on. It's been great. And I'm really happy I reached out to you when I did so that we could coordinate this. But I guess we can end it there and we'll listen to Tutorial Island. Yeah, that's it, I suppose. So thanks again. Sweet. And thanks for everyone listening.
Thank you, guys.
Expanding my knowledge and skills, I am learning and burning some logs that I cut. I'll try to fashion a ration, a shrimp sandwich is easier said than done. Bread's indivisible, but so's my spirit. I'm fearless, I'll do all the quests. Thank you, Mr. Guide. Hit the mines, give mining a whirl. Next up is Vanica, man, what a beautiful name. She sounds lovely and bubbly like my kind of girl. I'll tell her how I will change the world. And it's by keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat, save Lumbridgian streets on the mainland. I'll have power and gold, have my legacy told in the stories of old on the mainland. All this and more on the mainland. Oh. Oh. She's a guy beefed and spry and inked to the max. He hands me a sword, be forewarned, I've never fought. He says, arm yourself, are you a man or a mouse? 'Cause they're roughly as tough as you, an overgrown lot. They're homely, if only there were gigantic cats, but till they're real we use steel or an arrow and bow. I exterminate vermin great, I'm ready for more. He pulls me aside, he says I reap what I sow. I tell him that I'm ready to go and start keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat, save Lumbridgian streets on the mainland. I'll have power and gold, have my legacy told in the stories of old on the mainland. All this and more on the mainland. Oh. I've seen men of stronger resolve and smaller goals have their lives disrupted. There are forces of evil both outside and in. Those with good intentions can't end up corrupted. The mainland poses danger. It'll change your values and virtues. It'll prime you towards obsession if you can't keep your wits about you. Keep your wits about you. After his diatribe, I go find the mouth of the cave. He talked my ear off, but here I go to the end. I learn to pray and then make some friends. I'm sure I'll be loved. Dish some spells, wish them well, get ready to send me off. I am done playing pretend. It's time to start keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat, save Lumbridgian streets on the mainland. I'll have power and gold, have my legacy told in the stories of old on the mainland. Oh, all this and more 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 on the mainland. Oh.
Thank you so much for listening to this OSRS Rambles, and thank you so much to Yitzer Flogan for coming on the podcast. So please go check him out on Spotify if you enjoyed what you heard. It's a great album, and his band Windchop puts out some fantastic music, so I highly recommend checking them out if you enjoy what you listen to. Thanks again. I had a blast recording this one. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of these OSRS Rambles, so if you'd like to get the OSRS Rambles as soon as they are edited and uploaded, you can do that by going on to patreon.com/thewildernesspodcast, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/dills. Otherwise, the OSRS Rambles do come out on the public feed after some allotted time. It's a way for me to give back to the people who support the show, but at the same time, I do not want to keep things from everyone else who listens. So, I guess that's about it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.